So I received a request to make a video describing the G&M perspective of osteoporosis. So osteoporosis is a breakdown of bone. It causes the bones to be fragile and brittle, more prone to breaking. And this tends to happen to older females. Typically after menopause, according to conventional medicine, most women tend to lose bone mass as they age, and their explanation is that it's just a part of aging. They have hypotheses that less estrogen has something to do with the breakdown of bone. They don't know exactly why it is. They just have noticed that women after menopause, when estrogen declines, that they tend to increase their rate of osteoporosis. That isn't a great explanation because osteoporosis does happen in men and children as well. There are some other factors that can contribute to osteoporosis, like lack of exercise, or something called Wolff's Law, where basically your body, your bones respond to forces that are applied to them. And so bones that are used a lot, that have a lot of impact, if there's a lot of walking, jumping, running, things like that, your bones become stronger to meet the demand needed by the body. Also, there are nutritional aspects to bone health. If you have a diet that's causing vast mineral imbalances, that can also affect the metabolism of the bone. But from the German new medicine perspective, let's say a woman eats healthy and she's exercising, but she still has osteoporosis. What could be the explanation? And so in G&M, all diseases, all dysfunctions like osteoporosis are initiated by a psychobiological conflict shock. Something is going on in the psyche, in the mind of this individual. Some kind of conflict was interpreted, and the body is responding to that conflict depending on the particulars of the conflict itself. The thing about G&M is it's very nuanced. The way you interpret certain things will even determine the location of the body that is affected. And so in generalized, we're just going to talk about generalized osteoporosis, so just a general loss of bone strength. So bones belong to a class of tissues that are controlled from the midbrain, and they are of mesodermal embryologic origin. And their biological program, what happens is during conflict activity, the conflict associated with troubles with the bones, loss of bone tissue, is a self-devaluation or self-worth conflict. And when you think about it, what is your bone? Your bone is the structure of who you are that holds you upright. And if you are suffering from a self-devaluation, you're not feeling good enough, you're not feeling, you feel worthless. And this is a common experience, a common emotional event for women once they go through menopause. Depending on a particular woman, it's not every woman, but some women have certain expectations for aging. They witnessed their mother, their grandmother, the elderly women in their life. How strong and robust were they? Did they have an expectation that after a certain age you kind of become worthless, you don't do as much, maybe you've retired, maybe your grandchildren live far away and you don't feel like you're serving a purpose. And so many women, it's very common for women to experience feelings of loss of their self-worth, loss of their femininity, loss of, as that estrogen drops off, their image of themselves, they may change. And that change and how profoundly it's impacting a woman and what she's able to do and how she feels about, just her value as a person, if she's devaluing herself, her body is receiving the message of loss of value. And in biological terms, in the language of the body, that triggers the midbrain to trigger osteolysis of the bones in a generalized fashion. Now, if you've followed G&M for any period of time, you know that all of these programs, all of these biological programs, they serve a biological function. And that function is not to hurt you, it's not to destroy you. It may seem like, why would my body do this? If I'm devaluing myself, I need more bone, not less. But biologically, what's happening is your body, the biological purpose of this program is served once the program has completed, once the healing has taken place. If you are familiar, if you've ever broken a bone, you probably have heard that after a bone is broken, it's stronger. It's the strongest bone in the body because of the osteoblasts and the building of new bone tissue. In that area, it's reinforced, it's stronger than anywhere else in the body. Now, that's what's happening, and that's the biological purpose of the program of the bone. So when you're actively self-devaluing, when you are feeling worthless, your body is demineralizing your bone. Now, once you resolve that conflict, once you do the inner work, do what it takes to release those emotions of worthlessness, conflict resolution is going to look different for every single person. That's why we have our GNM self-healing support group, because once you know these principles, once you kind of become aware of your conflict, what it's going to take to resolve it is going to be different for every single person. And so it could be, finding a new job, a new hobby, something to do that gives you that sense of purpose and self-worth. And so once a person achieves that and their body now says, okay, well, let's get to work rebuilding, because that was the whole purpose. We've been waiting for you to get to this point so we can rebuild the bone. Now, during the rebuilding stage, that's the healing phase, and that's when a person is in pain, because when there's healing, there's swelling. When there's swelling, there's pain. And especially when it comes to the bones, what happens is as the bones are remineralizing and as they're building up, the periosteum, which is basically this tight skin that forms over the bone, gets stretched. And the periosteum is very nerve rich, and so it can produce a lot of pain. But this pain, it's like growing pains. It truly is. It's growing pains of your body, restoring, rebuilding that bone tissue. And afterwards, when the program is completed, when you've gone through the healing phase, your bones are going to be so much stronger after dealing with the self-devaluation conflict. And so that's the GNM perspective of osteoporosis. And the solution is, like I said, going to be different for every single person. If you are interested in joining the GNM self-healing support group, it's a completely free group where my partner and I give you different ways to think about your problems, different ways to think about what you're dealing with, and novel solutions, different perspectives that you can take on, new points of view, new things that you can do internally to see your situation in a way that feels a lot better. And so I'll post a link to that below the video. Thank you so much for watching. Please share, please comment, and I will see you again next time.